3 mistakes that keep you lonely after a spiritual awakening. And in my opinion, the third mistake that keeps you lonely after spiritual awakening is the number one thing that keeps you from finding that divine counterpart. So make sure you stick around to the end of the video to hear the third mistake that keeps you lonely. But let's get into the first mistake that keeps you lonely after spiritual awakening, and that is believing that no one else is as spiritual as you are. I get it. You've had a spiritual awakening. Everyone around you, friends and family, are asleep. They're very much in the 3D. They have that matrix mindset, and you've stumbled upon a new way of thinking, a higher consciousness, a higher understanding of how the universe works, your role in it, and even your new spiritual identity. So it's very easy to think that no one else is as spiritual as you are. No one understands what you're going through. Now, when you hear these 3D conversations, you can see right through those conversations and see what is ego and see ulterior motives, etc. So it's very easy to fall into that belief and mindset that no one is as spiritual as you are. But I assure you, Light Fam, there are millions of your vibe tribe all across the globe, people on your same spiritual level or higher. But you've got to make room for your new vibe tribe. So when things no longer resonate, for example, maybe you've got some old friends that were petty and competitive. They had a lack mindset and they used to gossip, and that low vibe crap just no longer resonates with you anymore. Well, as soon as you let them go, you've now made energetic space for your vibe tribe. The universe is always going to replace that open space with the most current dominant frequency, and your most current dominant frequency is of a higher consciousness. So let go of what no longer resonates and the universe will bring you that vibe tribe. But make sure that you don't adopt the belief that no one is as spiritual as you, because that can very easily turn into spiritual ego. The ego is non-physical, so the ego is always trying to prove that it exists, and one of its most favorite ways of proving that it exists are labels. I'm spiritual, you're not. I'm awake, you're asleep. I'm 5D, you're 3D. This is a spiritual egoic trap. Don't fall for it, Light Fam. Just because you've stumbled upon some information that other people may not have stumbled upon yet doesn't make you better than them. It just gives you a different perspective. A perspective from whence you came, by the way. So have a little bit of compassion for everyone on their spiritual journey. And remember, we are all fractals of Source, experiencing the physical from different perspectives. Just because those different perspectives might be at a lower, not worse, lower, denser frequency, doesn't mean it's worse. That's still Source experiencing the physical from that perspective. Let's be compassionate and understanding to our fellow human having a physical experience as Source. And the second mistake that keeps you lonely after a spiritual awakening is not hitting that subscribe button. I'm just kidding. Well, not really. Anyway, the second mistake that keeps you lonely after a spiritual awakening is identifying as lonely. You've got to understand your identity, or your self-perceived identity, masquerades as your story. The universe is always going to mirror back to you your story. So if you hold a particular belief about yourself, which is your story, you don't even realize that you've simultaneously created a self-perceived identity. It's your self-perceived identity that connects to the quantum field, attaches to its vibrational match, and then that's what you experience. So the universe is always going to mirror back to you your story, or your self-perceived identity. And the same way that we use the law of attraction hack to just be what it is that you want to share the same space with, identify as absolute abundance, identify as absolute love, identify as absolute health, and then you effortlessly share the same space with it. You don't have to try to attract it from over there because you're simultaneously saying that you don't have it. Well, the same thing works for what you don't want to experience. So if you're identifying as lonely, but you don't want to experience lonely, then you need to change your story. What if you changed your story to, I give thanks that I am meeting spiritually awake people every day. I can't believe how spiritually awake people are. I didn't give people credit for being spiritually awake. I'm so surprised by how spiritually awake people are, how much I'm running into 5D people, or I'm running into people that are coming from a higher consciousness and less from ego. I'm pleasantly surprised at finding my vibe tribe. That's a different story, and that different story will be mirrored back to you in your physical reality. And the third mistake that keeps you lonely after spiritual awakening is believing that a spiritually mature divine counterpart or sacred partner on your spiritual level is far too rare to find. Remember, we just stated that the universe is a belief responsive universe. What is your belief? The universe says, and so it is. If you believe it's too rare of a find for someone to be on your spiritual level, your divine counterpart, the universe says, but what if you changed that belief? We see the universe make a grain of sand, a blade of grass, an entire planet, entire universes. You don't think the universe can bring a divine counterpart to you that's on your spiritual level or even higher? Absolutely. You just have to change that belief. But what happens is the ego doesn't see it happening fast enough. The ego doesn't have control over when or who that divine counterpart is going to be. When the ego is not in control, the ego believes it's a threat to survival. The ego does not like being uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for the ego not to have the answers. Well, when is that divine counterpart coming? Why is it so hard? The ego gets impatient with not being in control. This is where the anxiety comes in. But that just means that the belief, the new belief that it is easy to find a divine counterpart is logical, right? So first, change the belief. It's easy to find a divine counterpart that's on my spiritual level. The powers of the universe are infinite. Of course, a divine counterpart on my spiritual level or higher can be brought to me. And that turns out to be logical at first. And then the ego has a hard time believing it because the ego may see evidence to the contrary. Oh, this person is a narcissist or that person is emotionally unavailable. And then it goes back to its belief. But what you got to do is you got to bridge the gap from the mind to the heart. The heart is the energetic house of the subconscious. If it's your subconscious belief that finding my divine counterpart is easy peasy, then it's the heart that connects to the quantum field and connects to its vibrational equivalent to bring into your physical experience. How do you program the subconscious belief? Through affirmations. Again, we like to have that daily stillness practice so that we can program our subconscious beliefs. One of these subconscious beliefs you can have is it's easy to find my divine counterpart, or I give thanks that I've already found my divine counterpart, or I give thanks that multiple divine counterparts on my level are being presented to me on a daily basis. The belief has only the limitations that your ego puts on it. So when you start to put those affirmations in a daily meditative practice and it becomes your subconscious belief that it is easy to find your divine counterpart on your spiritual level or higher, then the universe just as easily says, and so it is. And then your physical reality starts to mirror what you've got going on in your heart.